Good afternoon, everyone, and many thanks for joining us for this webinar on our latest version 3 of the RevTAG tool. We hope you like the new features that we've implemented for version 3, all based off the back of feedback from your good selves and users. So we'd like to continue to develop this with the help of yourselves, providing us with some feedback. We've already got a fairly decent list for the next version, so watch this space. I've got so it's Dave Mangham here, just talking at the moment, and we've got Brendan on the line, who's on this session. He's going to actually drive and show you guys what we've got coming in the new feature. We'll hopefully have the MSIs uploaded to the website before the end of today. We've got also the 2020 version of the MSI, which will be available. So those of you that have started to utilize the 2020 Revit version, that will be available for installation as well. So I'm just going to hand you over to Brendan. We're going to keep this as short and sweet as we can, as we know you're all very busy. So Brendan, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Dave. I'll just share my screen there, and I'll give it a minute or two. There may be a short delay there at your end, guys. I'll start talking, but I won't quite start moving the screen yet. I'll give it a second. Basically, as they mentioned, the goal here is just to really quickly demonstrate the new features. We've got a list of them. We're quite excited about the new features here. Hopefully that's given you enough time there. You can see my screen. I've just got a simple demo file open here with some ductwork laid out. So I'm going to run through the list of updates. The first one on the list is to note that in the configuration window, overall, we've just done a bit of a cleanup with this panel. So the user interface, just to make the user interface a little kind of more organized. Main things really in terms of the interface here is just to kind of rejig these buttons and kind of line things up as to where they kind of should sit logically in the order that you'd be setting up your configuration. So as an example, you pick a system to start from and to create a new config by, and then the second part is to obviously either you want to create a new config, you want to delete one, or you want to rename one on the list, and you can have obviously upwards of 1 to and however many you're going to have on this list. Okay, so just lining up those buttons, that's the main thing. There. The next feature to look at is the import configuration and export configuration option. So this is obviously probably one of the bigger ticket items that we're excited about. We're pleased that we've got this in now. This was a high demand, so hopefully this is going to be a benefit for you guys. So in short, we've basically got an import and export button down the bottom, as you can see in the window. I've got an example of a duct configuration that I have created. So if I just simply show you, first of all, if I click on the import configuration and I go to my demo folder here, it basically exports out as a .json file. Don't want to get kind of too technical here, but basically that's the format that it exports out as. So you'll have a file there, you can name it whatever you like. I've got this example on here. If I open that up simply, it should basically, as it's done, populate my window with that config. So you can have any number of them now, switching in between. Makes it easier for you guys to save across and share across multiple projects, which is obviously the issue before. It wasn't easy. You had to kind of set up in every project from scratch. So if I save that, just have a quick look at that. I can annotate that with that one now. I think just quickly, this is a new feature as well, or newer feature, if some of you may not be aware of it, this pick by rectangle. We had previously pick elements and pick run. We've now got, for the annotation side of things, is pick by rectangle, which allows you basically just to grab a whole layout and pick the whole thing basically and run through, and it'll tag up your run. In this case, this duct run. You can see I haven't got my numbers sorted there. I guess I could be, just for those of you that may not be aware, that might be newer to the tool, I can click on my number tool, and let's just quickly remedy that. So I can give it a few zeros here. I want to use that label parameter. Let's go pick run. And if I zoom in to there, and let's zoom in a little bit so you can see, my tags should populate, as you can see. So that tag configuration is working quite well. I've got the length, and I've got the item number, and I've got them positioned, and away we go. So just to reiterate, so that was the import-export feature. As I said, if you've created a new one and you click the export button, as I said, it will save as a .json file. So that's the file extension there. You can save it however you want into your folder, and then you've got that to import into any project file that you're working on. All right. The next feature to have a look at is to do with picking your tags and searching for tags and the families that you want to tag within this configuration window. So another big kind of comment from users or request was the ability to be able to set up a new config. So let's say demo. And then once I want to start building up a config here, the first step I'd do is obviously click and add a row to create and add a tag to begin with. Previously, the only ability was to click on the pull down list and obviously search through the list. Now, depending on your project and how big and how many tags you've got in your project, this list could be small, it could be quite large, right? So the ability here now, as you can see, is we've got a flashing icon here. There is a search ability here now. So we can search for keywords. So if you just type in, radius, for example, it will spell it correctly, probably helps. You can see that it will filter out the list to show you just those with the word radius in that, obviously. So I can pick the tag I want, and the same goes for the family types. Okay, so from the family types list, once I've picked the tag that I want, all right, I have to then tell the tool what families I want to tag. We have the same feature here, so you can type in a search here. So if I search for the same keyword, for example, radius, you can see my list is filtering out now to radius fittings. So I can pick the list. Another feature that we've added is the ability to, obviously I can click and select the ones I want, but if I want to grab all of those ones, I can hold the shift key down and click that bottom one. I'll just do that again. So I click the top one, hold my shift key down, and I can say I want all of those radius families. Save that, and that's now saved those. So just a bit of a rejig, I guess, with the way you can select things. We listen to the feedback and just making it a bit easier for you to navigate through and select families and your tags. Okay. All right, let's just save that, and I'll come out of there. The next update that I want to briefly talk about is to do with the fabrication side of things. So there is a fabrication. There was an issue with the fabrication radius parameter and what's exposed and what's not exposed at the moment currently inside of Revit. Basically, in short, if you're trying to tag, if you wanted to tag the radius bend out of the box with Revit, with the fabrication part, it's not possible. It's not exposed to be able to tag it. So you have a radius parameter in there. So if I edit that part, we have an inner radius parameter which you can do certain things with. You can, if it's coming from a default from your database, obviously it'll be set. If you can swap this around and you can kind of set this up, edit it as you need. You just can't tag that out of the box. So in short, basically what we've done is we've introduced a feature in our tool, in RevTAG. Part of that is, you'll notice the new button here if you haven't seen it before, which is update parameters. Basically what we're doing is when we update the parameters, a shared parameter is loaded into the project called, as you can see down here on the bottom left of my screen, SP radius parameter. that's introduced into the project, added to or assigned to the fab fitting, and it's basically just updating and mapping that radius part value and populating it into that shared parameter, which can then obviously be tagged. Okay, so the workflow is you set up a tag. So if I go configure, fabrication, if I go new tag, and this will show you how, maybe while I'm doing this search feature, if I look for radius, so there's my fab radius tag. The family I want is bend. So let's actually go radius. Oh, that's a bit easier. So there it is there. So radius bend default, I believe is the one I want. I'll just leave the positioning just centered at the moment, but obviously I can put some offsets on that if I wanted to in terms of where I want it to position. If I now save that, okay, the idea that is that I go pick element, all right, or I could even, and we can see the tag coming up there as well. I could even do the 2-click one if I wanted to as well. So fabrication, so place tag, maybe put it in there. All right, so I can use that tool as well. So the workflow is that you utilize, first of all, that update parameters button to update the value, okay, because that could change, right? So but when you click that update parameter button, not only does it introduce that shared parameter if it doesn't already exist, but it will also update the value based on what the current inner radius of that fabrication part is. The second part of the workflow is that you as a user have to set up a radius tag. So as long as you've got a tag set up as part of your template, as part of your Revit workflow, and feeding off that shared parameter, that SP radius parameter, as long as it's feeding off that, then it should update for you. And just to show that in action, if I now edit that part and let's say I change, for example, that radius, let's say, I don't know, to 200. All right, that won't, at the moment, that won't update automatically, but basically as a workflow, you've just got to, before you're printing or whatnot, you click the update button, and anywhere you've got that tag on that radius bend, it'll update the tag for you. So, okay, I'll probably get rid of that one. So that's a little bit about the radius, tagging the radius of the fabrication bends, a little bit about that workflow. I don't know, Dave, if you wanted to jump in on any of that, feel free. The next couple, there's a couple more just new features just to talk about as well. So we basically have overall we have an improved control of tag locations in general. So let me just quickly talk on that for a quick sec. I jump back into, let's say I go back to this duct config that I have. All right. So you can see in this duct config, I obviously have a number of tags here, and I've also got some settings in terms of the length. In particular, I've got some settings for the positioning of it. So I've set it to be bottom right, but then I've also pulled it back a bit to the left in the X offset by putting the -200 in, and then in the Y axis I'm moving it up the page by 100 mil. Okay, so I'm sort of repositioning it. You'll notice in version 3 now of RevTAG that you may not have to add as much or customize as much these X and Y offsets, because the positioning that has been set now overall for center, bottom, right, or particularly for bottom, right, left, off the center, has been refined and has been kind of updated to improve basically the position of that. So you kind of, I guess in short, should be able to get it where you want it in the first place pretty quickly. Okay, so the last thing to mention as well, just to reiterate what Dave said at the start of the call, is that this tool is now available for Revit 2020. So we'll be releasing the new updates of version 3 for this for Revit 2017. through to Revit 2020. So the full version, 17, 18, 19, and 20 will be available. And that's about all I was going to go through there. Dave, I don't know if you wanted to add anything at the end of that at all.
Brendan, that's great. Just to qualify that we're not supporting 2016 anymore because 2020 has now been rolled out. There was an early version of 2016, but we've not updated that and implemented new features in it. The updates are available, those who've got subscription, freely available to download and install. Anybody that's on version 1 may need a new serial key because we did updates in the back of the product regarding registering and the product. So if you can continue to shoot us any suggestions through the help form, if you go on the help button and then go on the feedback form, then we do really appreciate that. Like I said, we've got a fairly good list already of features requests for new features. So we'll be looking to try and get those rolled out in the next 3 to 4 months. So once again, many thanks for your time. We appreciate you're very busy people, and look forward to getting the next version built for you guys and rolled out in the near future. Thanks once again.